Hand, Band of the California Battalion. What a wonderful performance. You know, I thought my uniform was hot until I saw what these guys are wearing. By the way, you saw the flyby a few minutes ago, on time. Thank you, JetBlue. Delivering this year's keynote address is Colonel Kurt Schlichter. He's a graduate of the United States Army War College and is serving as the Deputy Commander of the 79th Infantry Brigade Combat Team of the California Army National Guard. He's a veteran of Operation Desert Storm, served in Kosovo as part of Operation Enduring Freedom from 2004 to 2006. He commanded a reinforced battalion in northern San Diego County during the 2007 fire emergency. During his 26-year career, Colonel Schlichter has been awarded 3 Meritorious Service Medals, 5 Army Commendation Medals, and the Silver Wings of an Army Paratrooper. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Colonel Kurt Schlichter.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor being here. Well, first of all, one more for the California band. Holy cow. That was amazing. Well, I'd like to thank Mayor Foster, Mayor Deere for being here, the great folks at Forest Lawn for having this ceremony. There's some other special people I want to thank, too. Are there any Gold Star families here today? Okay. I'd like to also thank our veterans. If you're a veteran of the American Armed Forces, can you please stand up and be recognized? That includes you, Mr. Alvarez, my father-in-law. Thank you. Thank you. I think doing that's important because my theme here is the heroes all around us. Because in an age where heroism is sometimes cheapened to mean somebody who can write a really great rap song or can, make a basket, the heroes who are all around us remind us of what is best about Americans. It's easy to forget that what we have here as Americans is the exception. It's not the rule in human history. And what that is did not come about, and it is not preserved except for by the sacrifices of the heroes who are all around us today on Memorial Day. Now, while we're here to honor those who came before us and who gave their lives, we also need to remember those who serve today, because it's another beautiful Southern California day, and it's hard to believe that America is still at war. In places like Kandahar, Korengal Valley, the DMZ in Korea, Kosovo, some folks still in Iraq. Our armed forces are facing the enemy as we speak. Sometimes I hear people say about the young people today, well, this young generation, they just don't compare. They don't compare to the greatest generation. They don't compare to their forefathers. They're spoiled or weak or entitled. Well, I've had a chance to work with those young people. I've served with them overseas. I've seen them in action. And I'm here to report to you the good news that those people who doubt today's generation could not be more wrong. Today's generation is every bit... Today's generation is every bit the equal of the generations that came before them. And today, we're here to recognize the sacrifice of over 6,000 of them since 9/11. We who still serve, well, we understand that we walk in a path laid down by heroes. Those heroes are all around us today. Like I said, some sit in the audience, veterans who answered the call. Others are going to remain here at rest when we go home to our families and our picnics. Yeah, it's easy to forget, being here, that America's always been at war. Yeah, it's only the names of the enemy has changed. Sometimes they call themselves Nazis. Sometimes they call themselves communists or socialists. Sometimes they call themselves Al-Qaeda. But the enemy is always the same. For our history is the history of a struggle between those of us who think man was born to be a slave and ruled by tyrants, and those of us who understand that God endowed every human being with inalienable rights that no government of man may steal. Our founding fathers understood that. The heroes all around us today, they understood that too. To see it, you only have to turn on the news, whether it's murderers in London, bombers in Boston. I want to tell you something that I caught watching the footage of the Boston bombing, something that tells me and should tell you about Americans. When that bomb blew up, people ran towards the fire. They ran to help their fellow Americans. Police officers, regular citizens ran to help. What caught my eye were the soldiers who ran to help in their combat uniforms, because I noticed one had a right shoulder patch of the 101st Airborne Division. That means he'd been in combat. He'd been over there. That means he knew that our enemy often planted a follow-up bomb. And in fact, these guys tried to do that. He ran to help fellow Americans, knowing he could be next. That's the American spirit. That's what we celebrate today. You veterans, you've laid down a challenge to the people who take our freedom, because you won't quit, you'll never give up, you never surrender. The challenge is simple. If you want our freedom, you've got to come and take it, and no one ever has. Let me read a quote from John Stuart Mill. War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling which thinks that nothing is worth war is much worse. The person who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his personal safety, is a miserable creature and has no chance of being free, unless made so and kept so by the exertions of better men and women than himself. The heroes resting here understood that in a most profound way. They had so much to live for, and maybe that's why they believed they had so much worth dying for. That's why they're heroes. But the heroes who rest here are not the only heroes around us. There are heroes around us every day. There's the high school social studies teacher who drove a tank into Baghdad, the State Farm agent who was in Afghanistan with the Marine Corps Reserve, that friendly greeter at Walmart who manned a machine gun in the Mekong Delta, gentle pediatrician who saved hundreds of lives at a combat support hospital outside of Fallujah, and the kindly grandfather who stood in the dark door of a C-47 over Normandy and jumped off into the darkness on June 6th, 1944. Veterans, you've given so much, but I must call on you again because you have a new mission. 26 years and 1 week ago today, I took my oath, swearing on my life to defend our country, our people, and our Constitution. You took that oath too. That oath did not come with an expiration date. Here's your new mission. We vets know that the real heroes are the ones that don't tell stories. They're the quiet ones. And I know if I go out there and ask you, and I'll talk to you after this, and you're going to tell me, I just did my job. I didn't do anything important. You don't want to talk about your own story because you think so many other people did so much more. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't have that luxury anymore because we need you again. We need you to step forward and tell what you did, tell what you saw, tell what you lived. Tell the new generation, tell the young people of today the truth. That's the only way, because the only way our nation's going to have a future is if it understands our past. And that's why it's up to you. You need to keep the stories of the heroes alive. Your stories, the stories of the heroes resting here. I want you to talk to your grandkids. You tell them what they saw. Visit a school, talk to the classes. Tell them the truth, the good and the bad. Time for modesty has passed. Your country needs you again. It needs you to tell your stories. The generations in the past have stepped forward. You step forward. The generations in the past have always stepped forward. We need tomorrow's generations to step forward when duty calls, and it will call. To teach them that our country and our citizens and the unique freedom we enjoy, well, they're worth fighting for, and if necessary, they're worth dying for. Now, I know there's some sophisticated people out there. They scoff at the notion of good and evil. To them, everything's just a shade of gray. There's no real right and no real wrong. What a sad life theirs must be. The men and women who lie around us, you men and women, you know better. You know that evil exists because you dared stare it in the face. And you know it must be fought. And you know that the terrible price of victory is exceeded only by the terrible price of defeat. Fellow veterans, we can never, ever let that lesson be forgotten. You've got your mission, veterans. You've never let us down before. I know you won't let us down now. Few minutes, we're going to have a final salute to the fallen, and after that, we're going to leave to spend time with family and friends. Yeah, some people question having barbecues and picnics on Memorial Day, but I don't. They didn't give so much. They didn't die so we could mourn. They died to make real the promise of our Declaration of Independence, of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So go have a beer, maybe two. But just remember what Memorial Day means and pass that on to the Americans of tomorrow. As veterans, as heirs to the military of the greatest and freest nation in the history of mankind, that's your final mission. And to those who gave their lives to defend our nation, and to our veterans, and to those who defend us today, and to the families, God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.